Hey guys, I'm Nito King, bringing you more Space Quest 3. Last time we made it to planet Fleabutt and bought a bunch of souvenirs and got strangled to death by an invisible Terminator. That hasn't really changed a whole lot. Alright, let's do something about that. He's given us a 10 count to try to make it back to our ship. It's a pretty small planet. I think there's only 9 or 12 screens that you can actually survive on. The rest of them you either get struck by lightning or eaten by a snake if you try to go anywhere. And usually you don't make it more than a couple of screens before you see his footprints in the sand starting to follow you. This time I think I've got enough of a head start. And then I go one screen too far south. So as you can see, you can just head back to the north and nobody's the wiser. Still no sign of Arnoid. Keeping ahead of him. Back to the strange pods on the ceiling of that cave. Oh, there he is, over to the left. And he goes behind the rock where I can't see his footprints, but that's alright, because here is the aluminum mallard. I made it! Beat you! Actually, no. He will always be at the ship, and he will always kill you first. So, if I want to get off this planet, I'm actually going to have to destroy the invincible Terminator somehow. One of those ways is over here. I didn't go over here before because I was going to have to come here later. And Mog's head exhibit is apparently closed for repair, which means there's probably going to be some industrial or construction type equipment. And as we all know, construction equipment is one of the few weaknesses of a Terminator. The others being something like molten metal and very, very powerful magnets. I think that's what they used in Terminator 3. I think it was kind of a blur by the end of it. Alright, so we got the heavy equipment up on the upper level. Definitely worth a look. See some very powerful looking grinding gears there. They're not actually attached to anything that I can see, but who cares? All they really need to do is be grinding. And there's Arnoid. Yep, I'd say from my test run that those gears are perfectly suitable to the task of grinding up some kind of metal body. Only problem is we need to make him fall into them. So we got this heavy pulley mounted on a track that runs the length of the platform. I'm pretty sure I've seen this in a movie somewhere. What was it? Oh yeah, pretty much every movie that was patterned off Home Alone. I think I remember the one where Macaulay Culkin was fighting Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I love the fact that it pauses so I don't have to type push pulley in advance and then hit enter when the time is right. And there we go. That is the Terminator dealt with. I'm going to take the long way down and get caught up on the staircase a couple times, of course. And the Terminator has been terminated, but his invisibility belt is still intact. You just have to walk around to the appropriate angle to pick it up. This is not the only time we're going to have to do that. Yeah, thanks for the help there, Fester. You were really, really useful. Alright, no sense standing around here teabagging the metal corpse or whatever. And we can go ahead and follow Fester back to the shop, just in case you didn't buy something like the underwear, which is really the only thing you needed to buy here. But like I said, there are two ways to take out the Terminator, so let's pretend that didn't happen, and go investigate the other way. Now for this, again, we're going to have to run, but we're not going to run all the way back to the ship. Obviously, that doesn't do me any good, because if I try to get on the ship, he'll grab me. Instead, I'm going to use the features of this planet to my advantage as best I can. What I need to do is carefully walk around to the front of the cave, and now, of course, he's right behind me, and rather than taking a sensible path, I lead him right to the back of the cave. We'll try that again. In one of my subsequent runs, I actually walked back and forth between these screens about a dozen times before he finally showed up. Nature is efficient. Now all I need to do is go grab that invisibility belt again. Alright, fine, I'll get closer. Something tells me that's not the way I'm going to be able to get it. Fortunately, I picked up another item in Fester's store that's useful if you take this approach to getting rid of the Terminator. Good old ORAD on a stick. He bites, and bites, and bites, and bites, and bites. Alright, I'm not going to sing again. So now I have my very own invisibility belt. I can wear it safely, but if I do try to turn it on at any point, Roger notices that it's very low on battery power, and elects to save it for a more appropriate time. No matter how appropriate the time may seem, there's always a more appropriate time. Until the time which actually is appropriate, which is when we will be turning the belt on. And I'm just kind of rambling to buy me time to get back to my ship. We're done with Fleabut, everyone. No more Fleabut. No more purple sand. No more green rocks. No more random plasma storms. I think it's time to go someplace a little friendlier. Who wants a bite to eat? That's right, now that I've actually got the money from selling the Orium, I can afford to buy food and play me some Astro Chicken. And it's a really short trip. I think they're only something like a chess knight move away from each other. Warp speed, Mr. Sulu. I don't know why I said warp speed, Mr. Sulu, in Captain Picard's voice. Or my best imitation thereof, which probably wasn't recognizable, and I could maybe have fooled you guys into thinking that was supposed to be a Shatner impression, if I had just kept my big fat mouth shut. I don't know. I'm just gonna buy some food here. So alright, it's time for that big belcher combo. I can afford it now, and I can afford many, many more of it. Alright, all I gotta do is sit down. Yeah, there's a booth here you can use. I think you can also use the empty booth way at the other end of the row in the opposite screen, but why would you want to walk that far? Looks good, doesn't it? Bet you guys wish you were eating some Monolith Burger right about now. Drinking some of that, whatever the hell it was. Apparently didn't taste too good. Any leftovers? Nope. He ate it all. I love that. I think that's the first time I ever saw that message, and I just thought it was great. Not great is you have to be at the bottom half of the screen in order to walk to the right, which is annoying. But I guess you can't walk right into that brain on a green coffee table alien over there. What's weird is it says the thought of eating here doesn't appeal to me at the moment, but since this is the only place to get food, there's nowhere else to go. So I'm just gonna have to come back over here and place another order. This time I'll order something a little more sensible. How about that Monolith Fun meal down there? Number 7. Oh, so that's what they drink out here. Tang. Or a sloppy slurper, which I can't tell if that's supposed to be a bigger size or some, like, milkshake equivalent. Might be a Tang-flavored milkshake. Then again, there are plenty of different flavors of Tang. You got your grape Tang, and those are kind of lemon Tang. I know there's orange Tang, but I don't drink that because it reminds me too much of monkeys. And of course, this is why you order a kid's meal. Who cares about the food? You get a prize inside. And it tastes the same as the Big Belcher combo. So let's take a look at that ring. Good for decoding any secret message. So of course, there's going to be a secret message here. And that's what we're going to be playing Astro Chicken for. I wasn't trying too hard the first time around because I didn't have the decoder ring. And you can't get the ring and then play the game with only 7 Buckazoids. Now the secret here is flapping just enough to make your lateral movement happen. And then just start flapping your wings once you're over the landing pad every time you start to move downward. And before you start to move upward, stop flapping your wings and you'll just gracefully descend onto the landing pad. I probably don't explain it very well, but I'm not all that good at doing it either. And really, the most important reason for doing this is that you get 5 points every time you successfully land a chicken. And of course, with 3 successful landings, you get an extra life. So, yeah, not really like a free play mode kind of thing, but the other trick is you can't be too close to the edge of the pad. It's tricky to tell when you're in the right spot and when you're not, but just hit down when you're at the center of the screen and you should be good. I think I kind of got into my stride here and figured out the pattern. And I hope you guys like that theme, because it goes on for a while. Now the game ends when you've either landed 10 chickens successfully or lost 10 times. Either way you'll get the same result, but for 10 successful landings you get 50 bonus points. And then you get to see the secret message. Now of course, in order to read the message, you need to have the decoder ring. It would be really handy if they actually changed the text on the screen, but no, you just have to do the cipher. It's easy enough to read, though, if you just kind of guess at what the characters are, so I'll just read it to you. It says, "Help us. We are being held captive by Scumsoft on the small moon of Pestilon. An impenetrable force field surrounds the moon. It must first be deactivated. Its, IT''S, of course. Its origin is unknown to us. Scumsoft security is armed with jello pistols. We're counting on you, no comma, whoever you are. Two guys in trouble." That, ladies and gentlemen, is the plot of this game. That's where the Pirates of Pestilon comes from, and that's what we need to spend the rest of the game doing. That's the only point to coming to Monolith Burger at all. It's completely optional if you don't care why you're going through the rest of the puzzles in the game. Oh yeah, I did put the speed down to normal this time while I was playing Astro Chicken. I think that helps. Almost any action-oriented scene is going to be a lot easier if you slow the game down a bit. And so we are done with Monolith Burger as well, having completed all of the objectives there. Only one place left to go, at least among the places we can get to with our scanner as it is. And again, we picked up on Fleabutt, the supply that we're going to need to get through this area. You guys remember Planet Ortega, right? The lava lover's paradise filled with lots of very, very hot things and enough heat to melt you and your clothes. Alright, so I'm not a postcard writer. But that still probably would have worked on a postcard. Oh, what do you think, I'm Mr. Deeds or something? Come to Ortega, we've got lots of really hot stuff. You tell him, Space. Yeah, that one's kind of a longer trip, because you went all the way from the west side to the east side of the area you can get to from here. Time to land and actually take a look at Ortega properly. And maybe see if I can get some taco shells. I really like their taco shells. Of course, I realized that I never actually got around to putting on the underwear after buying it. You can survive for a little while outside the ship on Ortega, as you saw last time. So, if I did forget to wear the underwear and step outside, he'd say it's really hot. You go back into the ship and you put on your underwear. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a slogan for them. I mean, it rhymes. But who cares? I'm now protected from all sources of heat. And that's probably one of the most disturbing game over images most people had seen at the time. They brought it back and changed all the red to green for the remake of Space Quest 1, whenever you die from acid. Yeah, it was disturbing there too. I think a lot of stuff about the rest of the series is disturbing. This game kind of brought in a lot of. FYI, this area is not actually a threat. It shakes around, but your controls are exactly the same, and the platform never actually falls while you're standing on it. And look, Lava Lover's Paradise, again. I hope you guys are sick of that phrase by now. Ah, Scumsoft employees. I assume that Scumsoft must be located somewhere around here, but forget that warning about not getting too close to these guys. I want to know where those two guys in trouble are hid. Jello pistols, right. And I think he might be able to eat his way out or something. Now you might think this is the time to use the invisibility belt so you can sneak past them. But no. As a matter of fact, that equipment is going to be of interest to us, and even invisible, we wouldn't have much of a chance to get at it. So all we need to do is be patient, keep an eye on what they're doing. One of them's looking through the telescope, the other one is staring off into the distance with some kind of big pink thing in his hand. Unless that was just his other hand. And then they wander off. Now this is what I don't get. It calls them pirates, and it says they're in a scout ship. What are they scouting? Is that just an expression? I have no clue. But anyway, let's take a look at what that guy was looking at through this telescope. Indeed, Pestulon is a moon of Ortega. How convenient! But of course, you notice that that message has a lot of the same information from the message that was in Astro Chicken. So if you haven't seen it, this is the message you're going to see. Far as I know, it doesn't change the rest of the game at all. I may do a parallel playthrough just to see if anything happens, but hey, stuff. I got an inventory item. That could be interesting. You know, in the "look out! He's carrying a thermal detonator" sense. I'm just not very good at the famous sci-fi voices. I should probably stop doing them. That's the way they make sure that you can't get a thermal detonator off the planet. That's all that vibrating rock is for. So, all we need to do is not head back that way. Let's check out this secret cave here. It's not a cave! Instead, let's just keep moving to the right, shall we? And at the very least, we've seen the force field generator that the message told us about. We need to get closer and see if we can find a way to disable it. And walk up a long path that doesn't serve any purpose that I can figure out. This, I believe, would be the generator. So we'll just get a bit closer here. And I see a ladder off in the distance. So it's time for about the world's simplest maze. Yeah, not really much of a maze at all. Which is good, because who wants to see a maze in an adventure game? Honestly. Especially some kind of real complicated one. Alright, yeah, there'll be a maze in this later. A proper maze. But as it is, here we are on top of the generator cone. Let's have some fun before I do anything serious. And of course, it's also possible to fall in. Which is easier to do when you're trying to position yourself at the edge. This should be pretty obvious. And hey, there was no noun-verb confusion or anything. So, now that we can reach Pestilon, we can head off and rescue those two guys in trouble. Maybe get some kind of reward, maybe just beat the game, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to save that and the exciting escape from Ortega for next time. Struck by lightning or eaten by a snake if you try to go anywhere. And usually you don't make it more than a couple of screens before you see his footprints in the sand starting to follow you. This time I think I've got enough of a head start. And then I go one screen too far south. So as you can see, you can just head back to the north and nobody's the wiser. Still no sign of Arnold. Keeping ahead of him. Back to the strange pods on the ceiling of that cave. Oh, there he is over to the left. And Mog's head exhibit is apparently closed for repair, which means there's probably going to be some industrial or construction type equipment. And as we all know, construction equipment is one of the few weaknesses of a Terminator. The others being something like molten metal and very, very powerful magnets. I think that's what they used in Terminator 3. I think it was kind of a blur by the end of it. Alright, so we got the heavy equipment up on the upper level. Definitely worth a look. Hey guys, I'm Nito King, bringing you more Space Quest 3. Last time we made it to planet Fleabutt and bought a bunch of souvenirs and got strangled to death by an invisible Terminator. That hasn't really changed a whole lot. Alright, let's do something about that. He's given us a 10 count to try to make it back to our ship. It's a pretty small planet. I think there's only 9 or 12 screens that you can actually survive on. The rest of them you either get... And he goes behind the rock where I can't see his footprints, but that's alright because here is the aluminum mallard. I made it! Beat you! Actually, no. He will always be at the ship, and he will always kill you first. So, if I want to get off this planet, I'm actually going to have to destroy the invincible Terminator somehow. One of those ways is over here. I didn't go over here before because I was going to have to come here later. Yeah. See some very powerful looking grinding gears there. They're not actually attached to anything that I can see, but who cares? All they really need to do is be grinding. And there's Arnoid. Yep, I'd say from my test run that those gears are perfectly suitable to the task of grinding up some kind of metal body. Only problem is we need to make him fall into them. So we got this